Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 436. Today we're going to cover the difference between hallucination, delusion, and illusion. Yeah, this is one every time it comes up where students might ask, well, what's the difference between these three? Okay, let's take a look at the note. The first one, hallucination, is probably easier to separate from the other two. The other two have a little bit more similarity, where you could understand how people could get confused, even native speakers. So let's look at hallucination first. A hallucination is when a person believes he or she can see or hear something that's not really there. This could be seen because of an illness or drugs. Yeah, if you remember the old movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, remember he was having hallucinations. He really believed that he was having conversations with people that were really not there. That would be a very good example of a hallucination. All right, let's continue. Hallucination could be in the form of visual. Yeah, in that movie Beautiful Mind, it was definitely visual. He could see it. Audio means maybe it's not visual. Maybe you just hear voices. You hear someone talking to you in your head, telling you to do things or something like that, where there's really nobody there. That would just be audio. So you only hear it. You're not seeing things. All the factors you smell. Maybe you're smelling things, and that smell is not really there. That could be. Tactile means you feel. This also could be caused by illness. Sometimes people could have an illness where maybe they feel like bugs are crawling all over them, but the bugs are really not there crawling all over them. That could be a hallucination of one type too. So again, key part about hallucination is could be illness, could be drugs. Drugs could do it too. All right. And there should be no external stimulus to cause this. So hallucination, there really should be nothing there to cause the hallucination. Okay, let's look at the next one. A delusion. A delusion is believing something strongly, very strongly, that is believed by most others to be completely false, despite indisputable proof to the contrary, to the opposite. It is not connected to the senses of, just hearing or seeing, but somebody strongly believes something that most other people think is false, and they couldn't understand why this person would believe this. Okay. It could be a mistaken or misleading opinion. Okay, let's continue. All right, well, here's different types of delusions, too. They could be delusion of persecution, where you believe some other people are either trying to hurt you or harm you or do bad things to you, and maybe it's just not really true. It's not really happening. That could be a delusion of persecution. Delusion of grandeur. Maybe you could believe that you are some great person, or maybe a great person in a former life. Even though there's no proof or there's no connection to it, that should make you think this, but you just believe this to be true. Okay, jealous delusions. This one's a little bit more tricky. This might be, a couple where one of them is very jealous, thinking that maybe the husband or wife might be flirting with somebody, where they're really not doing it. This one's tricky because sometimes there could be subtle things the person does that could have maybe caused them to have this feeling. But if we're calling it a delusion, there should be no real evidence of this. It should be mostly in the person's mind. They're letting their imagination, they're letting their mind carry them away. And they're really, believing, having this jealousy that really should not be there. Let's continue. All right, now an illusion. Remember, delusion, illusions, there is a little similarity. An illusion is an art, but the key word with illusion is misinterpretation. You've judged the situation in an incorrect way. So you are seeing stimulus, you are seeing things with your senses that's making you think something, but you're just not connecting it right. You're misinterpreting it. It is not what you think it is. So illusion is a misinterpretation of external stimuli Such as, all right, well, let's do the first ones here. These are the obvious ones. A mirage in the desert. So, if somebody was in the desert and they think they've seen the mirage, the big puddle of water or something, and they run there, it's not really there. That's an illusion. That's not a delusion. That is an illusion. That one's very clear. You're misinterpreting what you're seeing. This is really just some sort of light reflection that's happening, and you think it is like a mirage. Okay. Or magicians' tricks. Yeah, what magicians do are illusions. They don't do delusions. They do illusions. They're very good at their job, and they're very good at, making it look like something, and you're misinterpreting it. You're not realizing maybe what the real trick is behind it. Maybe that magician is not really making the elephant disappear, even though it may look like it. He might be playing a trick on your eyes or something, or on your senses. But you're misinterpreting it, so that's more of an illusion. So those are the easy illusions. Okay, or here's the part where it gets more tricky. Or it could be a case of believing things that have illogical or weak connections between them. All right. So then maybe there's something there that made you think this, but it's not strong, but yet you still believe it pretty strongly. All right, let me give you examples. This might help more. So let's look at the first example. The recreational drug LSD is known to cause hallucinations. Yeah. So again, hallucinations, drugs could definitely, there are a number of drugs that could cause hallucinations. All right, number 2 here, there are several mental disorders that could cause hallucinations too. Again, remember the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe played that part. That's definitely hallucinations. All right, number 3 here. He is under the delusion that the CIA is spying on him. All right, this one could be a little tricky. Nowadays, we do know that the government can spy on individual people. Now, of course, if this person is a nobody and the government has no reason at all to spy on this person, he probably really is still deluded. However, if he was somebody that for some reason the government might be interested in him, maybe he's a whistleblower, or he knows something, or he might be connected to somebody that's, doing something, well, then maybe it's not truly a delusion. Maybe somebody could be spying on him here. But again, if you think this person, because the government doesn't have manpower to spy on everybody all the time, but could they target somebody? Yeah, they could. All right, so there's things like that where we might call it a delusion, because most people believe this is not true. But, maybe somebody found out some information that makes them question it. What was supposed to be slam dunk definite proof that this is not true, maybe they found some proof to question that, maybe makes them more doubtful, skeptical. And then they see some other proof that makes them think more the other way. Then in that sort of case, if there's really real evidence, then it's not a delusion. But delusions are usually based on the fact that there is no evidence. There's no reason why the person should think that way. All right, let's continue. He is under the delusion that his ex-wife will return to him one day, even though she has been dating other men for years. So, other people are looking at this and they can't understand why he would think this way, because it doesn't look like she's ever going to come back to him. But maybe he just wants to believe this no matter what. So there's no good reason for him to believe this. Mm-hmm. All right. Number 9. Yeah, so she's under the delusion. Right. Okay. Number 5. She is under the delusion that she is Queen Cleopatra reincarnated. All right. So, and this is the delusion of grandeur. You believe that you were some great person or something. Maybe in a past life, or maybe even in this life. I don't know. But you just believe this to be true, and it's clearly not. There's no good reason why you should. There's no real evidence behind it, but you still believe it, then that would be a delusion. All right, number 6. Yes. Magicians perform illusions to entertain people. Yeah, so we know this. They kind of play a trick on your eyes to entertain you. but it's really just an illusion. Most of the time, they're not really doing what seems by like some mystical power or something. And then that would just simply be an illusion. Especially if you ever find out what the real trick is, then you would know that. Okay, good. Let's see, number 7 here. Don't have any illusion that you will be able to change him after you marry. All right, again, this is not one just with the I. This might be more like the misinterpretation. This is where it's a case that you believe something even though there might be some weak connections between there, or, you know, maybe you just don't have the right idea. But maybe this person, they think they see some flaws in this person, but they want to marry them anyway. And they think, well, after I marry them, you know, maybe they're reading the situation. He'll change, or I'll be able to change him. But they're misinterpreting it. Maybe they won't be able to change that person. Okay, let's look at number 8 here. She has the illusion if she can get her supervisor fired, the boss will offer her the job. Well, again, she might be misinterpreting this situation. Maybe she thinks the boss likes her, but even if she can get this other guy fired, it doesn't necessarily mean that she will be offered the job. You know, maybe he will find somebody else anyway. Okay, anyway, I hope it's clearer. Again, hallucination is a really easy one to separate from the two. Delusion and illusions, they're almost as close to some crossover, but the key word with illusion is misinterpretation. They're not judging, they're judging the situation wrong. It is based on some of their senses, but they're not judging it correctly. Delusion is like you just believe this stuff, but there's really no good reason behind it. Or at least we don't see it or know it. Anyway, I hope you got it. I hope you got a better feel now of when you would use one of these words instead of the other, or the other two. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.